On August 17, 2022, Dodge revealed what I believe is the most interesting vehicle made in my lifetime. This. The 8th generation of the Dodge Charger. One of the most iconic muscle cars ever made. Now, my history with the Dodge Charger doesn't start the same place as I'd assume most people would. Many people know the Dodge Charger for its key role in the Fast and Furious franchise, as the main vehicle driven by protagonist Dom Toretto. The 1969 Charger, as a result, appears in every single iteration of the film, I believe. However, for me, I discovered the Dodge Charger through gaming, specifically Need for Speed. As a young child playing Need for Speed Carbon, the Dodge Charger served as the car of choice for one of the game's bosses, Angie. This game actually made me hate muscle cars for a long time, as they were notoriously poor where handling was concerned at the expense of their awesome power output. They were super hard to drive, super powerful, and how old was I? Like 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that? I just couldn't do it, man. I really couldn't. I couldn't handle those cars. But luckily for a young intern, something would come along the way that would spark my love for muscle cars. Yes, that would be NASCAR. Through watching stock car racing, my love for muscle cars and their amazing power was ignited, and by watching older NASCAR races from the 60s to the early 80s and seeing how those cars were basically driven with little modification from their stock counterparts, my respect went through the roof. One of the cars that played a huge role in this era of NASCAR was indeed the Dodge Charger, being driven by greats like Richard Petty to race wins in NASCAR. The only other reason I knew about Chargers was due to the fact that American police tend to use them as cop cars. Anyways, boom, fast forward back to the present day. So yeah, this is the new Dodge Charger, and honestly, outside of the fact that at first glance it kinda looks more like a Challenger than a Charger, something I also thought, but as time went on I started to distance myself from that thought, right? The real aspect of this car that gives me Charger vibes would be the front, which looks like the old 60s Chargers when you put them side by side. This front grille right here, or basically an opening for air to go through, it gave me 1968, 1969 Charger vibes. I'm big fan of the manipulation done to the front end to increase the aero, because it plays into the whole Dodge Charger Daytona moniker. As back in the day, Dodge would make massive updates to the Charger to make it more aerodynamically efficient to cook in stock car racing. But I don't think we're ever gonna see a version of this Charger that will go to these lengths, but we move. Anyways, outside of that, the one singular fact that has caused fans to have an absolute meltdown worldwide is the fact that this new Dodge Charger, yeah, it's electric. Word to Marcia Griffiths. They made one of the most iconic high horsepower V8 powered vehicles of all time, electric. Now, unlike a lot of folks, I'm not against electric vehicles. I actually see the benefit to them given the direction the world is heading, and I do respect their existence. My main issue with electric cars has always been exterior design, but again, it's more of a nitpick than actual hate. However, the following paradox is the main reason why this video was even made. Dodge made an electric muscle car. An electric muscle car. A high-powered V8 loud beast, except it's not a V8, it's an electric engine and it's not loud. Now, this was a concept I always had in my head but never thought would ever meet reality. Taking away the sole thing that puts muscle in the muscle car is one thing, but doing it to an iconic brand of muscle car such as the Charger, as opposed to making a new car in general, is another. A die-hard fan will see this and think, why would Dodge do this? Well, one word: Stellantis. Intern, what's Stellantis? Well, simply put, it's Dodge's parent company. And not just Dodge either. Stellantis is the parent company of 14 car brands around the world, including Alfa Romeo, Peugeot, and Citroën. Fun fact, the chairman of Stellantis is a man by the name of John Elkann. If you are in Formula 1 spaces and you've heard this name before, there's a good reason for that. It's because he's also the chairman of Ferrari. He played a pivotal role in getting Lewis Hamilton to the red brand, but that has nothing to do with this, so let's dress back a bit. What does Stellantis have to do with Dodge turning their Charger into an EV? Well, Stellantis, being the global car corporation it is, had a massive carbon footprint as a result of that status. Obviously, in today's world, shooting plumes of CO2 into the Earth's atmosphere will make you public enemy number one in climate change prevention spaces. Therefore, to fix this issue, Stellantis made the boss call with the brand under their umbrella that probably contributed the most to emissions due to the nature of their vehicles. That brand would be Dodge. Stellantis committed to ensuring that the output from the Dodge brand would reflect its goals of reducing emissions, hence the discontinuing of the Dodge Challenger. The last one ever made was made last December. Now, instead of discontinuing the Charger altogether to further these goals, they opted to keep the brand while also pushing it in a direction that fit their vision, hence this, the Dodge Charger EV. Now, going back to the diehards, they're still confused as to them. The Dodge Charger looks more like a phone charger than an actual Dodge to some, and it being electric takes away from the muscle aspect of it, with no loud bellowing sound from its power plant. You can't get good sounds like this out of an electric powered vehicle. Now, that didn't stop Dodge from trying though. You see folks, to combat the issue that could arise from selling a muscle car that's as quiet as a library, Dodge would apply this to the Charger, a phenomenon known as a fratzonic chamber that uses speakers to simulate the sound of an ICE engine. I'll let you decide whether or not you think it's effective. There's just so much about this vehicle that piques my interest. I even had a discussion about it with a co-worker the other day, and they couldn't believe how deep I made everything out to be. But I don't think the title of this video is an exaggeration by any means. I do think the Dodge Charger, at least to me, is the most interesting vehicle ever built in my lifetime. The absolute kicker in all of this is that Stellantis, despite their emissions stance, will still be providing a gas-powered version of this Dodge Charger. So all the people out there that want the amazing grunt of a Scat Pack Charger or an SRT, without the electricity that comes with the new model, can still be satisfied through this version of the Charger. So with all that said and done, what does this represent? Well, I think it represents a paradigm shift in the automotive industry. For a good while now, most electric vehicles are smaller, more family-oriented vehicles being marketed to the quote-unquote regular person. But this Dodge Charger EV represents the industry trying to market electric vehicles to the demographic that, in theory, would be least willing to give it a chance. The demographic that lives and dies by the V8, the muscle fanatics, the guy that wants to feel and hear each and every bit of horsepower their muscle car has to offer. Dodge aren't even necessarily the first persons to try this, as Ford created the Mustang Mach-E, but that's more trying to cater to multiple markets as opposed to the folks that Dodge are trying to lure in. The Mustang Mach-E is an SUV and it's electric, so it doesn't really give off the Mustang muscle vibes, does it? But will Dodge's risk work? That can only be seen through how the car sells. One should also consider how well the EV version of the Charger sells against the gas-powered counterpart. This is Intern Talks Wheel though, so I might as well sprinkle some more motorsports into the topic, as I am a motorsport YouTuber and not an automotive one. Who knows? If this ends up being a success, we could very well see Dodge return to NASCAR, even though I'm not gonna go into a deep, desperate conspiracy theory the way other diehards will. I've actually been begging my Twitter followers to render me a Dodge Charger EV next gen just so I could see how it would look if one were to be made, and the results I got were pretty neat. In conclusion, the Dodge Charger EV is a head spinner in the nicest way possible, and I believe it's a car that's going to change the car industry for a very long time. But yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts on the new Charger finally being put into words after tons of short-worded musings on Twitter. I'd love to discuss this with y'all in the comments. So feel free to leave one if you so desire. Tell me what you think of the Dodge Charger EV. My name is Intern, I talk wheel, and thanks for watching.